Picture this: a young warrior, outnumbered and surrounded, stands on the edge of a crumbling empire. His enemies are closing in, his allies have fled, and the odds are stacked impossibly against him. Yet, with nothing but sheer will and a brilliant strategy, he turns the tide of history. This is not just a story of survival, it's a testament to the power of human resilience and ingenuity. And it's just one of the 25 incredible moments we're about to explore. From the deserts of Persia to the icy peaks of the Alps, ancient leaders faced challenges that would have broken lesser men and women. But they didn't just survive, they thrived, reshaping the world in ways that still echo today. In this video, we'll uncover the stories of these legendary figures who defied the odds, outsmarted their enemies, and left an indelible mark on history. Get ready for a journey through time where courage meets cunning and the impossible becomes possible. Stay with us because by the end of this video, you'll not only learn how these leaders changed the course of history, you'll also discover the timeless lessons their triumphs hold for us today. Let's dive in. Now, let's turn our attention to one of history's most audacious military feats, Alexander the Great and the Siege of Tyre. In the year 332 before the Common Era, Alexander faced a seemingly insurmountable challenge. The island city of Tyre, a powerful Phoenician stronghold, was surrounded by water and protected by towering walls. It was considered impregnable, but Alexander, never one to back down from a challenge, devised a plan so bold it would become legendary. To reach Tyre, Alexander ordered the construction of a massive causeway, a land bridge stretching from the mainland to the island. This was no small task. His men worked tirelessly, hauling stones and timber to build the structure, all while under constant attack from Tyrian forces. The sea itself seemed to resist their efforts, with waves and storms threatening to destroy their progress. Yet Alexander's determination never wavered. He even repurposed the ruins of the old mainland city of Tyre, using its debris to fortify the causeway. The Tyrians fought back fiercely, launching fire ships and dropping boulders into the water to disrupt the construction. But Alexander's ingenuity shone through. He built siege towers and battering rams on the causeway, and his navy eventually blockaded the city, cutting off its supplies. After 7 grueling months, the causeway was complete, and Alexander's forces stormed Tyre, breaching its walls and securing a decisive victory. This triumph was more than just a military achievement, it was a turning point in Alexander's campaign. The fall of Tyre demonstrated his ability to overcome seemingly impossible odds, solidifying his reputation as a brilliant strategist and an unstoppable force. It also opened the way for his conquest of Egypt and further expansion into Persia. Alexander's victory at Tyre wasn't just a testament to his determination, it was a masterclass in innovation and resilience, proving that even the most formidable obstacles can be overcome with vision and perseverance. As we move forward, we'll see how another legendary leader, Hannibal, faced his own set of extraordinary challenges in the treacherous Alps. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer audacity of Alexander's plan, a plan that reshaped the ancient world and left an enduring legacy of courage and ingenuity. Now, let's journey to another astonishing moment in history, where ambition and daring collided with nature's most formidable barriers. Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian general, stands as one of history's most audacious military leaders. In the year 218 before the Common Era, Hannibal embarked on a mission that would become legendary, leading his army, including war elephants, across the treacherous Alps to strike at the heart of Rome. The Alps were no ordinary obstacle. Towering peaks, icy slopes, and unpredictable weather made the journey a nightmare for any army. Hannibal's forces, numbering around 40,000 men, faced not only the harsh terrain but also hostile local tribes who ambushed them at every turn. Yet, the most iconic challenge was transporting the war elephants, massive, temperamental creatures that symbolized Carthage's military might. Imagine the sight of these towering beasts trudging through snow and narrow mountain passes, their presence both awe-inspiring and perilous. Logistically, the crossing was a nightmare. Supplies ran low and the cold claimed countless lives. Men slipped and fell to their deaths while others succumbed to exhaustion. The elephants, though resilient, struggled to navigate the icy paths, and some were lost along the way. Despite these hardships, Hannibal's leadership kept the army moving forward. His ability to inspire loyalty and maintain morale in the face of such adversity was nothing short of extraordinary. When Hannibal finally emerged from the Alps, his army was battered but intact. The psychological impact on Rome was immediate and profound. The Romans had never imagined an enemy could breach their natural defenses, and Hannibal's arrival on Italian soil sent shockwaves through the Republic. His bold move reshaped the Second Punic War, forcing Rome to confront a threat on its own doorstep. Hannibal's crossing of the Alps wasn't just a military maneuver, it was a statement. It demonstrated his willingness to take unimaginable risks to achieve his goals, and it cemented his reputation as one of history's greatest tacticians. This daring feat would go on to inspire countless leaders, proving that even the most insurmountable barriers can be overcome with determination and ingenuity. As we continue, we'll see how another remarkable leader, Cleopatra, used her intelligence and political savvy to rise to power in a world dominated by men. But for now, let's take a moment to marvel at Hannibal's audacity, a journey that defied nature itself and left an indelible mark on the ancient world. Now, let's turn our attention to the sands of Egypt, where one of history's most iconic figures rose to power through cunning, charm, and sheer determination. Cleopatra VII, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom, faced a world dominated by intrigue, betrayal, and shifting alliances. Her path to the throne was anything but straightforward, yet her intelligence and political savvy allowed her to outmaneuver her siblings and rivals, securing her place as one of the most powerful women in the ancient world. Cleopatra's story begins in a time of turmoil. After the death of her father, Ptolemy XII, she was expected to rule alongside her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, as was the custom of the Ptolemaic dynasty. However, the relationship between the siblings quickly soured. Ptolemy's advisors, seeking to consolidate power, forced Cleopatra into exile, but Cleopatra was not one to accept defeat. She gathered an army and prepared to reclaim her throne, setting the stage for a dramatic confrontation. Her opportunity came when Julius Caesar, the Roman general and statesman, arrived in Egypt pursuing his rival Pompey. Cleopatra saw in Caesar a chance to regain her position. In a bold and legendary move, she had herself smuggled into Caesar's presence, reportedly rolled inside a carpet. This daring act not only captured Caesar's attention but also his admiration. Recognizing her intelligence and ambition, Caesar allied with Cleopatra, helping her defeat her brother's forces and reclaim the throne. Cleopatra's alliance with Caesar was more than just political, it was personal. Their relationship produced a son, Caesarion, further solidifying her position. However, Caesar's assassination in 44 before the Common Era left Cleopatra vulnerable once again. Undeterred, she turned her attention to another powerful Roman, Mark Antony. Their partnership became one of the most famous in history, blending romance and politics in equal measure. Together, they sought to challenge Rome's dominance, forging a vision of a united Greco-Roman world. Cleopatra's ability to navigate the treacherous waters of politics and power was unmatched. She used her charm, intellect, and strategic alliances to not only survive but thrive in a world dominated by men. Her reign brought stability and prosperity to Egypt, and her legacy as a shrewd and resourceful leader endures to this day. As we move forward, we'll explore another moment where ingenuity and determination changed the course of history. But for now, let's reflect on Cleopatra's remarkable rise, a testament to the power of intelligence, resilience, and the willingness to seize opportunity, no matter the odds. Now, let's journey to the rolling hills of Gaul, where Julius Caesar faced one of the greatest challenges of his military career. The year was 52 before the Common Era, and Caesar found himself in a precarious position. The Gallic chieftain Vercingetorix had united the tribes of Gaul in a fierce rebellion against Roman rule. Outnumbered and surrounded, Caesar's forces were in danger of being crushed. But Caesar was no ordinary commander. His brilliance on the battlefield would soon turn the tide in one of history's most remarkable military victories. The stage was set at Alesia, a fortified hilltop town where Vercingetorix and his army had taken refuge. Caesar, recognizing the strength of the Gallic position, knew a direct assault would be suicidal. Instead, he devised a plan that showcased his strategic genius. He ordered his troops to construct a massive system of fortifications around Alesia, effectively trapping Vercingetorix and his forces inside. But Caesar didn't stop there. Anticipating that a relief army would come to aid the besieged Gauls, he built a second line of defenses facing outward. This double-walled system, known as circumvallation and contravallation, was a masterstroke of engineering and foresight. As expected, a massive Gallic relief force arrived, numbering in the tens of thousands. Caesar's army, now caught between the besieged town and the approaching reinforcements, faced a dire situation. Yet Caesar's meticulous preparations paid off. His troops, though outnumbered, held their ground, fighting on two fronts simultaneously. The Roman soldiers, disciplined and well-trained, repelled wave after wave of attacks. Caesar himself moved tirelessly among his men, inspiring them with his presence and directing the defense with precision. The turning point came when Caesar personally led a daring cavalry charge against the Gallic relief force. This bold move shattered the enemy's morale and turned the battle in Rome's favor. Vercingetorix, realizing the hopelessness of his situation, surrendered, marking the end of organized resistance in Gaul. Caesar's victory at Alesia was not just a military triumph. It was a testament to his ingenuity, leadership, and ability to adapt under pressure. This decisive win solidified Roman control over Gaul, paving the way for Caesar's rise to ultimate power in Rome. It also demonstrated the effectiveness of Roman military tactics and engineering, leaving a lasting legacy on the art of warfare. As we continue our journey through history, we'll see how other leaders used similar ingenuity to defy the odds. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate Caesar's remarkable achievement at Alesia, a victory that changed the course of history. Now, let's shift our focus to the ancient city of Babylon, where Cyrus the Great orchestrated one of the most ingenious conquests in history. In the year 539 before the Common Era, Babylon stood as one of the most powerful and well-defended cities of its time. Its massive walls were considered impenetrable, and its ruler, Nabonidus, believed his kingdom was secure. But Cyrus, the founder of the Persian Empire, had other plans that relied not on brute force, but on cunning strategy and psychological warfare. Cyrus understood that a direct assault on Babylon would be costly and time-consuming. Instead, he chose to exploit the city's internal weaknesses. Babylon was a divided society, with many of its citizens discontented under Nabonidus's rule. Cyrus saw an opportunity to win over the people by presenting himself as a liberator rather than a conqueror. He spread propaganda portraying himself as a just and benevolent ruler, chosen by the gods to restore order and prosperity. This message resonated deeply with the Babylonian populace, who were already disillusioned with their king. As Cyrus's army approached Babylon, he employed a brilliant tactical maneuver. Instead of laying siege to the city, he diverted the Euphrates River, which flowed through Babylon, lowering the water level enough for his troops to wade into the city under the cover of night. This unexpected entry caught the Babylonians completely off guard. The city's defenses, designed to repel traditional attacks, were ineffective against such an unconventional strategy. But Cyrus's victory wasn't just about military ingenuity, it was also a masterclass in diplomacy. Upon entering Babylon, he issued a decree guaranteeing the safety of its citizens and respecting their religious practices. He even allowed the exiled Jewish population to return to their homeland, earning their gratitude and loyalty. These actions cemented his reputation as a benevolent conqueror, a leader who sought to unite rather than dominate. The fall of Babylon marked a turning point in ancient history. Cyrus's ability to combine strategic brilliance with psychological insight allowed him to achieve what many thought impossible, conquering one of the world's greatest cities without a prolonged and bloody siege. His legacy as a ruler who valued mercy and wisdom over sheer force continues to inspire leaders to this day. As we move forward in our exploration of ancient leaders who defied the odds, we'll see how others, like Cyrus, used their unique strengths to reshape the world. But for now, let's take a moment to reflect on Cyrus the Great's remarkable achievement, a conquest that was as much about winning hearts as it was about winning battles. Now let's journey to ancient Britain, where a fierce and determined leader rose to challenge the might of Rome. Boudica, queen of the Iceni tribe, became a symbol of resistance and defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. Her story is one of courage, unity, and a relentless fight for freedom. When the Romans invaded Britain, they sought to impose their rule over the native Celtic tribes. Boudica's husband, King Prasutagus, had initially tried to maintain peace by forming an alliance with Rome. But after his death, the Romans betrayed their agreement, seizing Iceni lands and subjecting Boudica and her daughters to humiliation and violence. This betrayal ignited a fire within Boudica, and she vowed to lead her people in rebellion against their oppressors. Boudica's first act was to unite the fractured Celtic tribes, many of whom had long-standing rivalries. Her powerful speeches and unwavering resolve inspired them to set aside their differences and join forces against a common enemy. Together, they formed a formidable army, driven by a shared desire to reclaim their freedom and dignity. The rebellion began with a series of devastating attacks on Roman settlements. Boudica's forces targeted key cities including Camulogenum, Londinium, and Verulamium, leaving destruction in their wake. The Romans, caught off guard by the ferocity and scale of the uprising, struggled to mount an effective defense. For a brief moment, it seemed as though Boudica might succeed in driving the Romans out of Britain entirely. However, the tide turned when the Roman governor, Gaius Suetonius Paulinus, regrouped his forces and confronted Boudica's army in a decisive battle. Despite their bravery, the Celtic warriors were no match for the disciplined Roman legions. Boudica's forces were defeated, and she herself is believed to have died shortly after, either by illness or by her own hand to avoid capture. Though her rebellion ultimately failed, Boudica's legacy endures as a powerful symbol of resistance against oppression. Her story has inspired countless generations, reminding us of the strength that comes from unity and the courage it takes to stand up against injustice. Boudica's name lives on as a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to bow to tyranny. As we continue our exploration of ancient leaders who defied the odds, we'll see how others, like Boudica, faced seemingly insurmountable challenges with unwavering determination. But for now, let's take a moment to honor Boudica's bravery and the enduring impact of her fight for freedom. Now, let's turn our attention to the story of Ashoka the Great, a leader whose journey from ruthless conqueror to enlightened ruler stands as one of history's most remarkable transformations. Ashoka, the third emperor of the Mauryan dynasty, began his reign with a hunger for power and expansion. His early years were marked by ambition and military conquests, but it was the brutal Kalinga War that would change the course of his life and the history of India forever. The Kalinga War, fought around 261 BC, was one of the bloodiest conflicts of its time. Ashoka's forces clashed with the Kalinga kingdom, a fiercely independent region in eastern India. The battle was devastating, with hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians losing their lives. The sheer scale of the carnage left the land soaked in blood and the air heavy with grief. When Ashoka surveyed the aftermath, he was overcome with remorse. The sight of so much suffering shook him to his core, forcing him to confront the true cost of his ambition. This moment of profound reflection marked a turning point for Ashoka. He renounced violence and embraced the teachings of Buddhism, a philosophy centered on compassion, non-violence, and the pursuit of inner peace. Ashoka's transformation was not just personal, it became the foundation of his rule. He dedicated himself to promoting the welfare of his people, implementing policies that prioritized justice, equality, and moral governance. One of Ashoka's most enduring legacies was his use of edicts, stone inscriptions spread across his empire, to communicate his principles and policies. These edicts encouraged respect for all living beings, religious tolerance, and the importance of ethical behavior. Ashoka also sent emissaries to neighboring kingdoms and beyond, spreading the message of Buddhism and fostering peaceful relations. Under Ashoka's rule, the Mauryan Empire flourished not through conquest but through compassion. He built hospitals, planted trees, and established rest houses for travelers. His commitment to nonviolence and social welfare set a precedent for future leaders, earning him the title Ashoka the Great. Ashoka's story is a powerful reminder that even the most hardened hearts can change. His transformation from a warrior to a peacemaker shows us the profound impact of self-reflection and the potential for growth, even in the face of past mistakes. As we continue our journey through the lives of ancient leaders who defied the odds, Ashoka's legacy stands as a testament to the power of compassion and the enduring influence of a ruler who chose peace over power. Next, we'll explore another leader whose bold strategies reshaped the course of history. But for now, let's reflect on Ashoka's remarkable journey and the lessons it holds for us today. Now, let's journey to ancient Egypt, where the sands of time hold the story of Ramses II, a pharaoh whose cunning and charisma turned a potential disaster into a legendary tale of resilience. Known as Ramses the Great, he ruled during the 19th dynasty and is often remembered as one of Egypt's most powerful and celebrated leaders. But his reign was not without its challenges, and one of the most defining moments came during the Battle of Kadesh, a clash that would test his leadership and shape his legacy. The Battle of Kadesh, fought around 1274 BCE, pitted Ramses and his Egyptian forces against the Hittite Empire, a formidable rival in the ancient Near East. The Hittites, led by King Muwatalli II, were known for their military prowess and strategic cunning. Ramses, eager to expand his empire and secure his borders, marched his army into the region of Kadesh, a strategic city located in modern-day Syria. What followed was a battle that would go down in history as one of the most dramatic and complex military engagements of the ancient world. Ramses' campaign began with confidence, but it quickly turned perilous. Misled by false intelligence, he believed the Hittite forces were far from Kadesh. In reality, they were lying in wait, ready to ambush the Egyptian army. As Ramses and his troops approached the city, they were suddenly surrounded by thousands of Hittite chariots and soldiers. The situation seemed dire, with the Egyptian forces on the brink of annihilation. But Ramses, demonstrating remarkable composure and tactical ingenuity, rallied his men and turned the tide of the battle. Despite being outnumbered and caught off guard, Ramses personally led a daring counterattack. His bravery and leadership inspired his troops to fight with renewed vigor. The Egyptians managed to hold their ground, forcing the Hittites into a stalemate. While the battle ended without a clear victor, Ramses seized the opportunity to spin the narrative in his favor. He returned to Egypt and proclaimed the engagement a glorious victory, using propaganda to cement his image as an invincible warrior king. Ramses' accounts of the battle were immortalized in inscriptions and reliefs carved on temple walls across Egypt. These depictions portrayed him as a divine hero, standing alone against overwhelming odds and emerging triumphant. While modern historians recognize the battle as a draw, Ramses' skillful use of propaganda ensured that his legacy as a great pharaoh endured for centuries. His ability to turn a near defeat into a story of resilience and divine favor speaks to his mastery of both warfare and public perception. The Battle of Kadesh not only showcased Ramses' strategic brilliance but also highlighted the importance of perception in shaping a leader's legacy. His story reminds us that history is often written by those who know how to tell it best. As we continue our exploration of ancient leaders who defied the odds, Ramses the Great stands as a testament to the power of leadership, ingenuity, and the art of storytelling. Next, we'll uncover the tale of another leader whose bold actions left an indelible mark on history. But for now, let's reflect on Ramses' remarkable ability to turn adversity into triumph. Now let's shift our focus to the windswept steppes of Central Asia, where a young boy named Temujin faced a future that seemed anything but promising. Born into a world of tribal conflict and betrayal, Temujin's early life was marked by hardship and exile. His father, a minor chieftain, was poisoned by rivals, leaving the family vulnerable and destitute. Cast out by their own tribe, Temujin and his family struggled to survive, relying on their wits and resilience to endure the harsh realities of life on the steppe. But it was these very challenges that would forge the man who would one day become Genghis Khan, the founder of the largest contiguous empire in history. Temujin's rise to power began with a series of personal trials that tested his resolve. As a young man, he was captured and enslaved by a rival tribe, an experience that could have broken a lesser individual. Instead, it fueled his determination to rise above his circumstances. Escaping captivity, Temujin began to gather allies, proving himself as a skilled warrior and a charismatic leader. His ability to inspire loyalty and his strategic mind set him apart, and he soon began to unite the fractured Mongol tribes under his leadership. This was no small feat, as the Mongols were a fiercely independent people, often at odds with one another. Yet, through a combination of diplomacy, military prowess, and sheer force of will, Temujin succeeded where others had failed. One of the key moments in his rise came with the defeat of his childhood friend and later rival, Jamaka. Their relationship, once one of brotherhood, had deteriorated into a bitter struggle for power. When Temujin finally defeated Jamaka, he offered him a chance to reconcile, but Jamaka refused, choosing death over submission. This act of mercy, combined with his decisive victory, solidified Temujin's reputation as a leader who could command both respect and fear. In 1206, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, or universal ruler, marking the beginning of a new era for the Mongols. Genghis Khan's vision extended far beyond the steppes. He reorganized the Mongol tribes into a disciplined and highly effective military force, introducing innovations in tactics, communication, and logistics that would revolutionize warfare. His campaigns were marked by speed, precision, and an unparalleled ability to adapt to different terrains and enemies. From the plains of Central Asia to the cities of China and Persia, Genghis Khan's armies swept across continents, conquering vast territories and establishing an empire that stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. But Genghis Khan was more than just a conqueror. He was a visionary leader who implemented reforms that transformed Mongol society. He promoted meritocracy, rewarding loyalty and skill over birthright, and established a legal code known as the Yasa, which brought order and stability to his empire. His policies encouraged trade and cultural exchange, connecting the East and West in ways that had never been seen before. The Pax Mongolica, or Mongol peace, facilitated an era of unprecedented interaction between distant civilizations, laying the groundwork for the modern world. Genghis Khan's legacy is one of resilience, innovation, and ambition. From a boy cast out into the wilderness to the ruler of an empire that reshaped the world, his story is a testament to the power of determination and leadership. As we reflect on his extraordinary journey, we are reminded that even the most daunting odds can be overcome with vision, courage, and an unyielding spirit. Next, we'll delve into the story of another leader whose bold actions defied expectations and left an indelible mark on history. Now, let's journey to the ancient city of Palmyra, where a remarkable queen defied one of the most powerful empires in history. Queen Zenobia, ruler of Palmyra, was not just a leader but a visionary who dared to challenge the might of Rome. Born into a world dominated by Roman influence, Zenobia rose to power in the 3rd century, carving out a place for herself and her people in a landscape of shifting alliances and imperial ambition. Zenobia's story begins with her marriage to Odenathus, the king of Palmyra, who had already earned Rome's favor by defending its eastern borders against the Persian Empire. When Odenathus was assassinated, Zenobia stepped into the role of regent for her young son, Vabilathus, but she was far more than a caretaker ruler. With a keen intellect and a bold vision, Zenobia began to expand her influence, seizing control of key territories in the Eastern Roman Empire. Her ambition was clear: to establish an independent kingdom that could rival Rome itself. Under Zenobia's leadership, Palmyra flourished. She was a patron of culture and learning, surrounding herself with scholars and philosophers who helped shape her vision of a prosperous and enlightened state. But her ambitions extended far beyond the borders of Palmyra. In a series of daring military campaigns, Zenobia's forces conquered Egypt, Syria, and parts of Asia Minor, effectively creating a Palmyran empire that stretched across the eastern Mediterranean. Her success was not just a testament to her military acumen, but also to her ability to inspire loyalty and unity among her people. Rome, however, was not willing to let its eastern provinces slip away so easily. The Roman Emperor Aurelian, known for his military prowess, saw Zenobia's growing power as a direct threat to the empire. In 272, Aurelian launched a campaign to reclaim the territories Zenobia had taken. Despite her strategic brilliance and the resilience of her forces, Zenobia's empire was no match for the full might of Rome. After a series of battles, Palmyra fell and Zenobia was captured. But even in defeat, Zenobia's legacy endured. Her defiance of Rome and her brief establishment of an independent kingdom left an indelible mark on history. She was a ruler who dared to dream of a world beyond Roman domination, and her story continues to inspire as a symbol of courage and ambition. As we reflect on her remarkable journey, we are reminded that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit can rise to extraordinary heights. Next, we'll explore the story of another leader whose innovations reshaped the course of history. Now, let's turn our attention to southern Africa, where a leader emerged whose military genius would forever change the face of warfare. Shaka Zulu, born in the late 18th century, rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most formidable military leaders in history. His innovations in tactics and weaponry not only transformed the Zulu kingdom but also left a lasting impact on the region. Shaka's early life was marked by hardship. As the son of a minor chieftain, he faced exile and ridicule, but these challenges only fueled his determination to prove himself. When he eventually ascended to power, Shaka set out to reform the Zulu military, which at the time relied on traditional methods of warfare. He introduced a new weapon, the ikulwa, a short stabbing spear that allowed for close-quarters combat. This weapon, combined with his emphasis on speed and precision, gave the Zulu warriors a significant advantage over their enemies, but Shaka's innovations didn't stop there. He reorganized the Zulu army into regiments known as impis, each composed of warriors grouped by age and experience. This structure allowed for greater discipline and coordination on the battlefield. Shaka also implemented a tactic called the bullhorn formation, where the main force would engage the enemy head-on while flanking units encircled them, cutting off any chance of retreat. This strategy proved devastatingly effective, enabling the Zulu to conquer neighboring tribes and expand their territory. Shoka's military reforms were not just about winning battles, they were about creating a unified and powerful kingdom. He demanded absolute loyalty from his warriors, instilling in them a sense of pride and purpose. His leadership style was both feared and respected, as he pushed his army to its limits while also rewarding bravery and success. Under his rule, the Zulu kingdom grew into a dominant force in southern Africa, capable of resisting European colonization for decades. However, Shoka's reign was not without controversy. His relentless campaigns and harsh discipline earned him both admiration and fear, and his methods sometimes alienated even those closest to him. In 1828, Shoka was assassinated by his half-brothers, bringing an end to his rule. Yet his legacy lived on. The military strategies and innovations he introduced continued to shape Zulu warfare long after his death, and his name remains synonymous with strength, ingenuity, and resilience. Shoka Zulu's story is a testament to the power of innovation and determination. By rethinking traditional methods and pushing the boundaries of what was possible, he not only transformed his own kingdom but also left an indelible mark on the history of warfare. As we move forward, we'll explore another leader whose bold actions and strategic brilliance defied the odds and reshaped their world. Now, let's journey to ancient China, where one leader's vision and determination reshaped an entire civilization. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, faced a land fractured by centuries of conflict among rival states. His rise to power was anything but easy, yet through sheer will and strategic brilliance, he achieved what many thought impossible: the unification of China. Born in 259 BC, Qin Shi Huang inherited the throne of the Qin state at just 13 years old. At the time, China was divided into 7 warring states, each vying for dominance. The young king quickly proved himself a formidable leader, surrounding himself with capable advisors and military strategists. One of his most trusted allies was Lai Si, a brilliant legalist who helped Qin Shi Huang implement sweeping reforms that would lay the foundation for a centralized empire. Qin Shi Huang's first major challenge was overcoming the internal strife within his own state. He faced opposition from powerful nobles who resisted his reforms, but he dealt with them decisively, consolidating his power and ensuring loyalty. With his base secure, he turned his attention to the rival states. Through a combination of military might and shrewd diplomacy, he began to conquer them one by one. His armies were relentless and his tactics were innovative, often exploiting the weaknesses of his enemies to secure victory. By 221 BC, Qin Shi Huang had achieved the unimaginable. He unified China under a single ruler for the first time in its history. But his work was far from over. Determined to prevent the fragmentation of his empire, he implemented a series of groundbreaking reforms. He standardized weights, measures, and currency, creating a unified system that facilitated trade and communication across the vast empire. He also introduced a standardized script, ensuring that written language was consistent throughout the land. Perhaps his most enduring legacy, however, is the construction of the Great Wall of China. Recognizing the threat posed by nomadic tribes to the north, Qin Shi Huang ordered the connection and expansion of existing fortifications into a massive defensive barrier. This monumental project required the labor of hundreds of thousands of workers and stands today as a testament to his ambition and vision. Yet Qin Shi Huang's reign was not without controversy. His authoritarian rule and harsh punishments earned him both admiration and fear. He sought immortality through alchemy and even sent expeditions in search of the elixir of life. In the end, he died in 210 BC, leaving behind a legacy that would shape China for centuries to come. Qin Shi Huang's story is one of relentless ambition and transformative leadership. By unifying China and implementing reforms that strengthened its foundations, he created an empire that would endure long after his death. His achievements remind us that even the most daunting challenges can be overcome with vision, determination, and innovation. As we continue our journey through history, we'll explore another leader whose bold actions defied the odds and left an indelible mark on the world. Now, let's turn our attention to a story of courage and divine inspiration that changed the course of European history. Joan of Arc, a teenage peasant girl from the small village of Domremy, rose from obscurity to become one of history's most unlikely military leaders. Her unwavering faith and determination would inspire French troops to achieve a pivotal victory at Orleans, altering the trajectory of the 100 Years' War. Born in 1412, Joan grew up during a time of turmoil as France and England battled for control of the French throne. By the time she was 16, much of northern France, including the strategic city of Orleans, was under English control. The French forces were demoralized and the kingdom seemed on the brink of collapse. But Joan, claiming to have received visions from saints urging her to save France, set out to do the impossible. Despite her youth and lack of military experience, Joan managed to secure an audience with the Dauphin, the uncrowned heir to the French throne. Convincing him of her divine mission, she was given command of a small army and sent to relieve the besieged city of Orleans. Her presence alone was a turning point. Clad in armor and carrying a banner emblazoned with the names of Jesus and Mary, Joan inspired the French troops with her unshakable belief in their cause. The siege of Orleans had been dragging on for months, with the English forces firmly entrenched around the city. But Joan's arrival breathed new life into the French campaign. She led daring assaults, often placing herself at the forefront of the fighting, and her fearlessness rallied the soldiers. One of her most significant contributions was her ability to boost morale. She convinced the French that their victory was not only possible but divinely ordained. In just 9 days, Joan and her forces broke the siege, forcing the English to retreat. This victory was a turning point in the 100 Years' War, reinvigorating French resistance and paving the way for the eventual coronation of the Dauphin as King Charles VII. Joan's success at Orleans was not just a military triumph, it was a psychological one. Her leadership demonstrated that even the most unlikely individuals could defy the odds and change the course of history. However, Joan's story did not end on the battlefield. Captured by the English in 1430, she was tried for heresy and ultimately executed, yet her legacy endured. Centuries later, she was canonized as a saint, and her name became synonymous with courage, faith, and resilience. Joan of Arc's leadership at Orleans reminds us that true strength often comes from conviction and belief in a higher purpose. Her ability to inspire an entire army despite her humble origins is a testament to the power of determination and the human spirit. As we move forward, we'll explore another leader whose bold actions defied expectations and left an indelible mark on history. Now let's journey to the Mediterranean, where another leader's ambition and strategic brilliance reshaped the balance of power in the region. Suleiman the Magnificent, one of the Ottoman Empire's most celebrated sultans, set his sights on the island of Rhodes, a fortress held by the Knights Hospitaller. This formidable order of warrior monks had long been a thorn in the side of Ottoman ambitions, controlling key trade routes and posing a constant threat to their naval dominance. Suleiman's campaign to conquer Rhodes would become a defining moment in his reign, showcasing both his military ingenuity and his determination to expand Ottoman influence. When Suleiman ascended to the throne in 1520, the Knights Hospitaller had already fortified Rhodes into an almost impregnable stronghold. Their defenses included massive walls, deep moats, and a network of underground tunnels, making the island a daunting challenge for any invader. But Suleiman was undeterred. He assembled a vast army and navy, determined to bring Rhodes under Ottoman control. The siege began in the summer of 1522, and what followed was a grueling 6-month struggle that tested both sides to their limits. Suleiman's forces faced not only the knights' formidable defenses, but also the harsh realities of siege warfare. Disease, dwindling supplies, and the relentless heat of the Mediterranean summer took their toll on the Ottoman troops. Yet Suleiman's leadership proved decisive. He employed innovative tactics, including the use of massive artillery to bombard the walls and sappers to undermine the fortifications. His ability to adapt and persevere in the face of adversity kept the momentum on his side. The Knights Hospitaller, though vastly outnumbered, fought with incredible tenacity. Their leader, Grand Master Philippe Villiers de l'Isle Adam, inspired his men to hold out against overwhelming odds, but as the siege dragged on, the knights' resources began to falter. Suleiman, recognizing their weakening position, offered them honorable terms of surrender. In December 1522, the knights agreed to leave Rhodes with their lives and possessions intact, marking the end of their 200-year rule over the island. Suleiman's victory at Rhodes was more than just a military triumph. It was a strategic masterstroke. By securing the island, he gained control of a vital hub in the Mediterranean, strengthening Ottoman naval power and opening new opportunities for trade and expansion. The conquest also cemented Suleiman's reputation as a formidable leader, earning him the title, the Magnificent, among his contemporaries. This pivotal moment in Suleiman's reign highlights the importance of perseverance and adaptability in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. His ability to overcome the Knights Hospitaller's defenses not only expanded Ottoman influence, but also demonstrated the power of strategic vision and relentless determination. As we continue, we'll explore another leader whose bold actions defied expectations and left an indelible mark on history. Now, let's shift our focus to the heart of the Americas, where the Aztec Empire faced one of the most dramatic and transformative challenges in its history. Montezuma II, the ninth emperor of the Aztecs, found himself at the center of a collision between two worlds when Spanish conquistadors, led by Hernán Cortés, arrived on the shores of Mexico in 1519. Montezuma's response to this unprecedented threat would shape the fate of his empire and leave a lasting legacy of resistance and resilience. When Cortés and his forces first landed, Montezuma was faced with a dilemma. The Aztecs had long held prophecies about the return of the god Quetzalcoatl, and some believed the Spanish might be divine beings. Montezuma, cautious and uncertain, initially chose a strategy of diplomacy. He sent envoys with gifts of gold and other treasures, hoping to appease the newcomers and avoid conflict. This approach, however, only fueled the Spanish desire for conquest, as they saw the wealth of the Aztec Empire as a prize worth seizing. Montezuma's initial attempts to negotiate and delay the Spanish advance were met with mixed results. He invited Cortés and his men into the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, a city of grandeur and sophistication built on an island in the middle of Lake Texcoco. This decision, while intended to demonstrate Aztec hospitality, ultimately gave the Spanish a foothold in the heart of the empire. Cortés, ever the opportunist, took advantage of Montezuma's hospitality, eventually placing the emperor under house arrest and using him as a puppet to control the Aztec people. Despite his captivity, Montezuma's leadership during this tumultuous period was marked by moments of defiance and strategic maneuvering. He attempted to maintain order and prevent outright rebellion, knowing that open conflict could lead to catastrophic consequences for his people. However, tensions between the Aztecs and the Spanish continued to escalate. When Cortés temporarily left Tenochtitlan to deal with a rival Spanish force, his lieutenant Pedro de Alvarado massacred Aztec nobles during a religious ceremony, sparking widespread outrage. The situation reached a breaking point when Montezuma was forced to address his people in an attempt to quell the uprising. His pleas for calm were met with hostility, and in the chaos that followed, Montezuma was struck by a stone thrown by one of his own subjects. He died shortly after, leaving the Aztec Empire in disarray. His death marked the beginning of the end for the Aztecs as the Spanish, now reinforced with allies from rival indigenous groups, launched a full-scale assault on Tenochtitlan. The fall of the Aztec Empire was a tragic and complex event, shaped by Montezuma's initial strategies, the Spanish thirst for conquest, and the alliances forged between the conquistadors and disaffected indigenous groups. Montezuma's legacy, however, is one of resilience and adaptation in the face of overwhelming odds. His efforts to navigate an impossible situation, though ultimately unsuccessful, highlight the challenges of leadership during a time of profound upheaval. As we move forward, we'll uncover another story of defiance, where a leader's bold actions against overwhelming forces left an indelible mark on history. Now, let's journey to the heart of West Africa, where one of history's most extraordinary displays of wealth and power unfolded under the leadership of Mansa Musa, the 10th ruler of the Mali Empire. Mansa Musa's reign, which began in 1312, is often remembered for his legendary pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey that not only demonstrated his devotion to Islam, but also revealed the staggering riches of his empire to the world. In 1324, Mansa Musa embarked on his Hajj, a religious pilgrimage that every able-bodied Muslim is expected to undertake at least once in their lifetime. But this was no ordinary journey. Mansa Musa traveled with an entourage that included tens of thousands of soldiers, officials, merchants, and slaves, as well as a caravan of camels laden with gold. The sheer scale of his expedition was unprecedented, and it left an indelible mark on every region it passed through. As Mansa Musa made his way through cities like Cairo, his generosity became the stuff of legend. He distributed vast amounts of gold to the poor, gifted lavish presents to local rulers, and even built mosques along the way. His spending was so extravagant that it reportedly caused a temporary devaluation of gold in the regions he visited, disrupting local economies for years. This display of wealth was not just an act of piety, it was a calculated demonstration of the Mali Empire's power and prosperity. The Mali Empire, under Mansa Musa's rule, was one of the wealthiest and most advanced civilizations of its time. Its wealth was built on the abundant gold mines of West Africa, as well as its control over key trade routes that connected the Sahara to the Mediterranean. Mansa Musa's pilgrimage not only showcased this wealth, but also strengthened diplomatic and cultural ties with the Islamic world, elevating the Mali Empire's status on the global stage. Mansa Musa's legacy as one of history's richest leaders is cemented not just by his wealth but by his vision. He invested heavily in education, architecture, and infrastructure, transforming cities like Timbuktu into centers of learning and culture. His reign marked a golden age for the Mali Empire, a period of stability, growth, and influence that would be remembered for centuries. As we reflect on Mansa Musa's golden pilgrimage, we see a leader who defied expectations by using his wealth not just for personal gain, but to elevate his empire and its people. His story reminds us that true leadership is about more than power, it's about vision, generosity, and the ability to inspire awe and admiration across the world. Next, we'll turn our attention to another leader whose bold actions against overwhelming odds left an indelible mark on history. Now, let's shift our focus to the windswept shores of England, where the Viking Age reached its dramatic climax under the leadership of Harald Hardrada, a warrior king whose ambition nearly reshaped the course of history. Known as the last great Viking, Harald Hardrada's story is one of relentless determination, audacious strategy, and a final, fateful battle that would echo through the ages. Harald Hardrada's journey to England in 1066 was the culmination of a life marked by extraordinary exploits. Born into Norwegian royalty, he spent his early years in exile, honing his skills as a mercenary and commander in the service of the Byzantine Empire. His experiences in distant lands forged him into a formidable leader, and by the time he returned to claim the Norwegian throne, he had already earned a reputation as one of the most fearsome warriors of his time. But Harald's ambitions extended far beyond Norway. He set his sights on England, a kingdom he believed was rightfully his through a disputed claim to the throne. In September of 1066, Harold launched his invasion, landing in northern England with a fleet of over 300 ships and an army of seasoned warriors. His initial campaign was a stunning success. He defeated the local forces at the Battle of Fulford, securing control of York and positioning himself as a serious contender for the English crown. For a moment, it seemed as though the Viking Age, which had waned in recent decades, might be revived under Harold's leadership, but Harold's triumph was short-lived. Just days after his victory at Fulford, he faced a new and unexpected challenge. King Harold Godwinson of England, having marched his army north at an astonishing pace, confronted Harold and his forces at Stamford Bridge. The battle that followed was brutal and decisive. Despite their ferocity, Harold's Vikings were caught off guard and outmaneuvered. Harold himself fought valiantly but fell in the chaos, struck down by an English arrow. His death marked not only the end of his campaign but also the symbolic end of the Viking Age. The Battle of Stamford Bridge was a turning point in history. Harold Hardrada's defeat cleared the way for another pivotal event, the Norman conquest led by William the Conqueror, who would invade England just weeks later. Yet Harold's legacy endures as a testament to the daring spirit of the Vikings. His audacious attempt to conquer England, though ultimately unsuccessful, remains a powerful reminder of an era defined by exploration, conquest, and the indomitable will of its leaders. As we reflect on Harold Hardrada's last stand, we see a leader who defied the odds with courage and ambition, embodying the Viking spirit until his final breath. His story is a poignant chapter in the saga of ancient leaders who dared to dream big, even in the face of insurmountable challenges. Next, we'll explore the relentless campaigns of Attila the Hun, a leader whose name became synonymous with fear and conquest. Now, let's turn our attention to the vast steppes of Central Asia, where a leader emerged whose very name struck terror into the hearts of empires. Attila the Hun, often called the Scourge of God, was a force of nature, a conqueror whose relentless campaigns pushed the Roman Empire to the brink of collapse. His story is one of ambition, strategy, and an unyielding drive to expand his dominion, leaving a legacy that would echo through the ages. Attila's rise to power began in the early 5th century, when he and his brother Bleda inherited leadership of the Hunnic Empire. The Huns, a nomadic people known for their ferocity and skill in mounted warfare, had already established themselves as a formidable power in Eastern Europe. But under Attila's rule, their influence would reach unprecedented heights. After consolidating his power and eliminating his brother, Attila set his sights on the Roman Empire, a sprawling superstate that had dominated the Mediterranean world for centuries. Attila's strategy was as ruthless as it was effective. He exploited the internal divisions within the Roman Empire, pitting the eastern and western halves against each other while extracting massive tributes in gold and resources. His campaigns were marked by speed and precision, with his cavalry striking deep into Roman territory before retreating to the safety of the steppes. This hit-and-run approach left the Romans struggling to mount an effective defense, as their legions were ill-equipped to counter the mobility and ferocity of the Hunnic forces. One of Attila's most audacious campaigns came in 451, when he led his army across the Rhine River into Gaul, modern-day France. His forces ravaged the countryside, sacking cities and leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The Romans, desperate to halt his advance, formed an unlikely alliance with their former enemies, the Visigoths. The two armies clashed at the Battle of the Catalonian Plains, a brutal and bloody confrontation that ended in a stalemate. Though Attila was forced to retreat, the battle demonstrated the sheer scale of his ambition and the lengths to which the Romans were willing to go to stop him. Undeterred, Attila turned his attention to Italy the following year. His army swept through the northern provinces, capturing cities and threatening Rome itself. Legend has it that Pope Leo I met with Attila outside the city and persuaded him to spare Rome, though the true reasons for his withdrawal remain a subject of debate. Some historians suggest that disease and famine within his ranks forced him to retreat, while others believe he was bought off with yet another massive tribute. Whatever the case, Attila's invasion left Italy in ruins and further weakened the already crumbling Western Roman Empire. Attila's reign of terror came to an abrupt end in 453, when he died under mysterious circumstances on the night of his wedding to a new bride. Some accounts claim he suffered a nosebleed and choked on his own blood, while others suggest he was assassinated. Regardless of the cause, his death marked the beginning of the end for the Hunnic Empire. Without his leadership, the empire quickly fragmented and the Huns faded into history. Yet, Attila's legacy endures as a symbol of both fear and fascination. His relentless campaigns pushed the Roman Empire to its limits, exposing its vulnerabilities and accelerating its decline. To the Romans, he was the scourge of God, a divine punishment for their sins. To later generations, he became a larger-than-life figure, a conqueror whose name would forever be associated with the fall of one of history's greatest empires. As we reflect on Attila's story, we see a leader who defied the odds through sheer force of will and strategic brilliance. His ability to challenge the might of Rome, even if only for a time, stands as a testament to the power of ambition and the unpredictable nature of history. Next, we'll journey to the misty hills of England, where Alfred the Great rallied his people against the relentless Viking invasions, laying the foundation for a unified nation. Now, let's shift our focus to the rugged landscapes of 9th century England, where a king rose to the challenge of defending his people against one of the most formidable threats of the age, the Vikings. Alfred the Great, the only English monarch to ever be given the title Great, was a leader whose vision and resilience not only saved his kingdom but also laid the groundwork for a unified England. His story is one of courage, innovation, and an unyielding determination to protect his people from the relentless Viking raids. When Alfred ascended to the throne of Wessex in 871, the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms were in disarray. The Vikings, known for their swift longships and brutal raids, had already overrun much of northern and eastern England, establishing a vast territory known as the Danelaw. The Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, divided and weakened, seemed powerless to stop the Viking advance, but Alfred was no ordinary king. He was a scholar, a strategist, and a warrior, and he understood that defeating the Vikings would require more than just brute force. Alfred's first major challenge came in 878, when the Viking leader Guthrum launched a surprise winter attack, forcing Alfred to retreat into the marshes of Somerset. It was a low point for the young king, but it was also a turning point. From the marshes, Alfred regrouped his forces and began to implement a bold new strategy. He fortified key towns, creating a network of strongholds known as burhs that could withstand Viking attacks. These burhs were strategically placed to provide refuge for the local population and serve as bases for counterattacks. Alfred also reorganized the Anglo-Saxon army, ensuring it was better trained and more mobile, capable of responding quickly to Viking incursions. One of Alfred's most significant innovations was the creation of a navy. Recognizing that the Vikings relied on their longships to strike quickly and retreat, Alfred commissioned the construction of larger, more robust ships designed to intercept and engage the Viking fleet. This marked the beginning of England's naval tradition, a legacy that would endure for centuries. Alfred's efforts culminated in the decisive Battle of Edington in 878. Facing Guthrum's forces, Alfred led his army to a stunning victory, forcing the Viking leader to surrender and accept baptism as part of the peace agreement. This victory not only secured Wessex but also marked the beginning of the reconquest of the Danelaw. Over the next decade, Alfred and his successors gradually pushed the Vikings back, reclaiming territory and strengthening the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. But Alfred's legacy extends far beyond his military achievements. He was a visionary leader who understood the importance of education and governance. He promoted literacy and learning, translating key texts into Old English and encouraging the establishment of schools. He also reformed the legal system, creating a unified code of laws that applied to all his subjects regardless of their origins. These reforms laid the foundation for a more cohesive and stable England, setting the stage for the eventual unification of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms under a single crown. Alfred's defense against the Vikings was not just a military triumph, it was a turning point in English history. His ability to rally his people, innovate in the face of adversity, and lay the groundwork for a unified nation makes him one of the most remarkable leaders of the early medieval period. His legacy endures as a symbol of resilience and vision, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, great leaders can emerge to shape the course of history. Next, we'll travel to ancient Egypt, where Hatshepsut defied expectations to become one of the most successful pharaohs in history, overseeing a golden age of prosperity and monumental achievements. Now let's journey to the sun-drenched banks of the Nile, where a remarkable woman shattered expectations and ascended to the pinnacle of power in ancient Egypt. Hatshepsut, one of the few female pharaohs in Egyptian history, not only defied the gender norms of her time but also redefined what it meant to rule. Her reign, marked by prosperity, innovation, and monumental achievements, stands as a testament to her vision and determination. When Hatshepsut first stepped into the role of regent for her young stepson, Thutmose III, few could have predicted the extraordinary path she would carve for herself. In a society where power was traditionally held by men, Hatshepsut boldly claimed the title of pharaoh, adopting the full regalia and symbols of kingship. She even depicted herself in statues and reliefs wearing the traditional false beard and kilt of a male ruler, a striking visual statement of her authority. This bold move was not just about asserting power, it was about legitimizing her rule in the eyes of her people and the gods. Hatshepsut's reign was a golden age for Egypt. She prioritized stability and prosperity, focusing on trade and diplomacy rather than military conquest. One of her most famous achievements was the expedition to the land of Punt, a fabled region rich in exotic goods like incense, gold, and ebony. This successful trade mission not only brought wealth to Egypt but also strengthened its ties with distant lands, showcasing Hatshepsut's skill as a diplomat and strategist. But perhaps her most enduring legacy lies in her monumental building projects. Hatshepsut commissioned some of the most iconic structures of ancient Egypt, including her magnificent mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari. Nestled against the cliffs of the Theban necropolis, this temple is a masterpiece of architecture, blending seamlessly with its natural surroundings. Its terraces, colonnades, and reliefs tell the story of her divine birth and her achievements as pharaoh, reinforcing her legitimacy and divine favor. Hatshepsut also restored and expanded many temples across Egypt, honoring the gods and ensuring the prosperity of her kingdom. Her reign saw a flourishing of art and culture, with artisans and craftsmen producing some of the finest works of the New Kingdom period. Her emphasis on building and restoration was not just about leaving a physical legacy, it was about reinforcing the stability and continuity of her rule. Despite her many achievements, Hatshepsut's legacy faced challenges after her death. Thutmose III, her stepson and successor, sought to erase her memory, defacing her statues and removing her name from monuments. Historians believe this was an attempt to restore the traditional male line of succession and downplay the role of a female pharaoh. Yet Hatshepsut's impact could not be erased. Modern archaeology has uncovered her story, revealing a leader who defied expectations and left an indelible mark on history. Hatshepsut's rise to power was not just a personal triumph, it was a groundbreaking moment in the history of leadership. Her ability to navigate the complexities of a male-dominated society, her visionary approach to governance, and her monumental achievements make her one of ancient Egypt's most remarkable rulers. Her story reminds us that greatness knows no gender and that true leadership transcends the boundaries of tradition. Next, we'll explore the rise of Charlemagne, the Frankish king whose conquests and reforms earned him the title Father of Europe, shaping the course of medieval history. Now, let's turn our attention to the heart of medieval Europe, where a towering figure emerged to reshape the continent's destiny. Charlemagne, often hailed as the Father of Europe, was a ruler whose ambition and vision knew no bounds. Through a combination of military might, strategic alliances, and a commitment to cultural revival, he expanded the Frankish Empire to become one of the most powerful realms of its time. Charlemagne's rise to power began in the late 8th century, when he inherited the Frankish throne alongside his brother Carloman. After Carloman's untimely death, Charlemagne became the sole ruler, and he wasted no time in pursuing his grand vision. His reign was marked by relentless military campaigns as he sought to unite the fractured kingdoms of Europe under his rule. From the forests of Saxony to the plains of Lombardy, Charlemagne's armies marched, conquering territories and subduing rival powers. One of his most significant achievements was the conquest of the Lombard kingdom in northern Italy. By defeating King Desiderius and claiming the Lombard crown, Charlemagne not only expanded his empire but also secured the support of the papacy. This alliance with the church was pivotal as it granted him both spiritual authority and political legitimacy. In the year 800, Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne as the Holy Roman Emperor, a title that symbolized his role as the protector of Christendom and the unifier of Europe. But Charlemagne's empire was not built on conquest alone. He was a master of diplomacy, forging alliances through marriage, treaties, and strategic partnerships. He understood the importance of loyalty and rewarded his allies with land, titles, and positions of power. This network of alliances helped him maintain control over his vast territories and ensured the stability of his empire. Charlemagne was also a patron of learning and culture, sparking what historians call the Carolingian Renaissance. He established schools, invited scholars from across Europe to his court, and promoted the preservation of classical knowledge. His efforts to revive education and the arts laid the foundation for the intellectual and cultural flourishing of medieval Europe. Yet, Charlemagne's legacy is not without complexity. His campaigns, particularly against the Saxons, were marked by brutal force and the imposition of Christianity, often at the expense of local traditions. While his empire brought a degree of unity to Europe, it also sowed the seeds of future conflicts as his successors struggled to maintain control over the vast and diverse territories he had conquered. Despite these challenges, Charlemagne's impact on European history is undeniable. His reign marked the beginning of a new era, one that would shape the political, cultural, and religious landscape of the continent for centuries to come. By uniting much of Western Europe under a single ruler, he earned his title as the Father of Europe, a testament to his enduring influence. Next, we'll delve into the story of Tamerlane, the conqueror who rose from humble beginnings to build one of the largest empires in history, leaving a trail of both awe and devastation in his wake. Now, let's journey eastward to the vast steppes of Central Asia, where a figure of both awe and terror rose to power. Tamerlane, also known as Timur, was a conqueror whose name struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. Despite being crippled in his youth, earning him the nickname Timur the Lame, he defied all odds to build one of the largest empires in history, spanning from modern-day Turkey to India. Tamerlane's story begins in the 14th century in the rugged region of Transoxiana, now part of Uzbekistan. Born into a minor noble family, he faced early adversity when an injury left him with a lifelong limp. But this physical limitation did nothing to dampen his ambition. Tamerlane was a master strategist, combining ruthless military tactics with shrewd political alliances to expand his influence. He understood that power was not just about brute force, but also about winning the loyalty of key allies. One of his most remarkable achievements was his ability to unite the fractious tribes of Central Asia. By marrying into powerful families and forging alliances with local leaders, Tamerlane consolidated his power base. He then turned his attention outward, launching a series of devastating campaigns that would earn him a reputation as one of history's most formidable conquerors. His armies swept across Persia, the Caucasus, and into the heart of the Golden Horde, leaving destruction in their wake. Tamerlane's military genius lay in his ability to adapt and innovate. He employed advanced siege tactics, using engineers to construct massive siege engines and tunnels to breach city walls. His cavalry was unmatched in speed and precision, striking with lightning force before his enemies could regroup. Yet his campaigns were not just about conquest, they were also about instilling fear. Cities that resisted were often razed to the ground, their populations slaughtered or enslaved as a warning to others. Despite his brutal methods, Tamerlane was also a patron of the arts and culture. He transformed his capital, Samarkand, into a dazzling center of learning and architecture, attracting scholars, poets, and artisans from across his empire. His legacy is a paradox, a man who brought both destruction and cultural flourishing to the lands he conquered. Tamerlane's empire, however, was not built to last. Unlike other great conquerors, he focused more on conquest than on governance. His vast territories were held together by fear and force, and after his death in the year 1405, his empire quickly fragmented. Yet his impact on history is undeniable. He reshaped the political landscape of Central Asia and left a legacy that would influence future empires, including the Mughals of India. As we move forward, we'll explore the rise of another extraordinary leader, Wu Zetian, the only woman to rule China as emperor, and how she navigated the treacherous waters of political intrigue to secure her place in history. Now, let's turn our attention to the heart of ancient China, where a woman of unparalleled ambition and cunning defied the rigid norms of her time. Wu Zetian, the only woman to ever rule China as emperor, rose to power in a society dominated by men, proving that determination and intelligence could overcome even the most entrenched barriers. Wu Zetian's journey began in the Tang dynasty, during a time when women were expected to remain in the shadows of their male counterparts. Born into a noble family, she entered the imperial court as a concubine to Emperor Taizong. But Wu Zetian was no ordinary concubine. She possessed a sharp mind and an unyielding drive for power. After Taizong's death, she strategically positioned herself as a favorite of his successor, Emperor Gaozong, eventually becoming his empress consort. Her rise to power was marked by a series of calculated moves. Wu Zetian skillfully navigated the treacherous waters of court politics, eliminating rivals and consolidating her influence. She was not afraid to make bold decisions, even if they were controversial. For instance, she played a key role in the downfall of powerful officials who opposed her, using accusations of treason to remove them from power. Her ability to outmaneuver her enemies earned her a reputation as both a brilliant strategist and a ruthless leader. But Wu Zetian's ambitions did not stop at being empress consort. After Gaozong's health declined, she took on the role of regent, effectively ruling the empire in his stead. When Gaozong passed away, she went even further, declaring herself emperor in the year 690, a title no woman had ever held before. This unprecedented move shocked the empire, but Wu Zetian's grip on power was unshakable. She established her own dynasty, the Zhou, and ruled with an iron fist for 15 years. Her reign was marked by significant achievements. Wu Zetian implemented reforms that strengthened the central government and reduced the influence of the aristocracy. She promoted talented officials based on merit rather than birth, a radical idea at the time. Her policies also supported Buddhism, which flourished under her rule, and she commissioned grand architectural projects, including the construction of the famous giant Wild Goose Pagoda in Xi'an. Yet, Wu Zetian's rule was not without controversy. Her methods of maintaining power were often brutal, and she faced constant opposition from those who believed a woman should not hold such authority. Despite these challenges, she managed to hold onto power until her final years, when she was forced to abdicate in favor of her son. She passed away in the year 705, leaving behind a legacy that continues to fascinate historians to this day. Wu Zetian's story is a testament to the power of resilience and ingenuity. She defied societal expectations, overcame immense opposition, and left an indelible mark on Chinese history. As we move forward, we'll explore the legendary stand of Leonidas and his 300 Spartans at the Battle of Thermopylae, a tale of courage and sacrifice that has echoed through the ages. Now let's journey to the rugged mountains of ancient Greece, where a small band of warriors etched their names into history through an act of unparalleled bravery. The story of Leonidas and his 300 Spartans at the Battle of Thermopylae is one of defiance against overwhelming odds, a tale that has inspired countless generations with its message of courage and sacrifice. In the year 480 BC, the Persian Empire, led by King Xerxes I, launched a massive invasion of Greece. With an army said to number in the hundreds of thousands, the Persians sought to crush the Greek city-states and expand their empire. Faced with this existential threat, the Greeks knew they had to unite, but time was not on their side. The narrow mountain pass of Thermopylae became the chosen battleground, a place where a small force could hold off a much larger army. Leonidas, the king of Sparta, was chosen to lead the defense. Known for his military prowess and unyielding spirit, Leonidas understood the gravity of the situation. He handpicked 300 of his finest Spartan warriors, men who had trained their entire lives for combat. These soldiers were not just fighters, they were the embodiment of Spartan discipline and valor. Alongside them stood a few thousand allied troops from other Greek city-states, but it was the Spartans who would become the heart of the resistance. For 3 days, Leonidas and his men held the pass against wave after wave of Persian attacks. The narrow terrain neutralized the Persians' numerical advantage, forcing them to fight on terms that favored the heavily armored Spartans. The Greeks fought with unmatched ferocity, their shields and spears forming an impenetrable wall. Time and again, the Persians were repelled, their losses mounting with each failed assault. But the Greeks' success was not just a result of their physical strength. Leonidas' leadership was key. He inspired his men with his unwavering resolve, standing shoulder to shoulder with them in the heat of battle. His presence was a constant reminder of what they were fighting for, not just their lives but the freedom of all Greece. This sense of purpose fueled their determination, even as the odds grew increasingly dire. On the third day, the tide turned. A local traitor revealed a hidden path that allowed the Persians to outflank the Greek position. Realizing they were surrounded, Leonidas made a fateful decision. He ordered most of the allied troops to retreat, knowing their survival was crucial for the larger war effort. But he and his 300 Spartans chose to stay, along with a small contingent of Thespians and Thebans. They knew it was a suicide mission, but they also knew their sacrifice would buy precious time for the rest of Greece to prepare for the coming invasion. The final stand of Leonidas and his men was nothing short of legendary. They fought to the last man, their bodies forming a grim barrier against the Persian advance. Though they were ultimately overwhelmed, their defiance sent a powerful message. The Persians may have won the battle, but the Spartans' courage struck fear into their hearts and rallied the Greek city-states to unite against the invaders. The Battle of Thermopylae became a symbol of resistance against tyranny, a testament to the power of courage and sacrifice. Leonidas and his 300 Spartans are remembered not just for their military skill, but for their willingness to lay down their lives for a greater cause. Their story continues to inspire, reminding us that even in the face of impossible odds, the human spirit can rise to extraordinary heights. As we move forward, we'll explore the remarkable rise of Pachacuti, the visionary leader who transformed the Inca Empire into one of the most powerful civilizations of the ancient world. Now, let's turn our attention to the Andes Mountains, where a visionary leader emerged to reshape an entire civilization. Pachacuti, the ninth ruler of the Inca, is often credited with transforming a modest kingdom into one of the most formidable empires in pre-Columbian history. His reign marked a turning point not just for the Inca but for the entire region, as he introduced groundbreaking strategies in both governance and warfare. When Pachacuti ascended to power in the early 15th century, the Inca were a relatively small group centered around Cusco, surrounded by rival tribes and kingdoms. But Pachacuti had a grand vision. He saw potential where others saw only obstacles, and he set out to expand his realm through a combination of military conquest and innovative administration. His first major challenge came when the Chanca, a powerful neighboring tribe, threatened to overrun Cusco. Instead of retreating, Pachacuti rallied his people and led a daring counterattack, securing a decisive victory that not only saved his city but also cemented his reputation as a fearless leader. What followed was a series of military campaigns that expanded the Inca Empire far beyond its original borders. Pachacuti's strategy was as much about diplomacy as it was about force. He often offered conquered peoples a choice: join the empire willingly and enjoy its benefits, or face the consequences of resistance. This approach allowed him to integrate diverse groups into the empire, creating a unified state that stretched from modern-day Colombia to Chile. His armies were highly organized, with a focus on logistics and supply lines that ensured they could operate effectively across vast distances and challenging terrain. But Pachacuti's genius extended far beyond the battlefield. He revolutionized the Inca administrative system, implementing reforms that centralized power and ensured the empire's stability. One of his most significant innovations was the mita system, a form of labor tax that required citizens to contribute a portion of their time to public works projects. This system funded the construction of roads, bridges, and agricultural terraces, which not only improved infrastructure but also strengthened the empire's economy. Pachacuti also established a network of administrators and messengers, using quipus-knotted strings to record information and communicate across the empire's vast expanse. Perhaps Pachacuti's most enduring legacy is the city of Machu Picchu, a marvel of engineering and architecture that stands as a testament to his vision. Built high in the Andes, this royal estate served as both a retreat and a symbol of Inca power. Its precise stonework, terraced fields, and strategic location reflect the ingenuity and ambition of its creator. Machu Picchu was more than just a city. It was a statement, a reminder of what the Inca could achieve under Pachacuti's leadership. By the time of his death, Pachacuti had transformed the Inca Empire into a dominant force in the Americas. His reforms laid the foundation for future rulers, ensuring the empire's continued growth and prosperity. But more than that, he left behind a legacy of innovation and resilience, proving that even the most ambitious dreams can be realized with determination and vision. As we reflect on Pachacuti's remarkable achievements, we're reminded of the power of leadership to shape the course of history. His story is one of transformation, not just of an empire, but of an entire way of life. And as we move forward, we'll delve deeper into the lasting impact of his reign and the cultural legacy he left behind. Pachacuti's legacy is one of transformation and innovation, leaving an indelible mark on Inca society and culture. His reforms went beyond mere conquest, reshaping the very fabric of life in the Andes. One of his most remarkable achievements was the construction of Machu Picchu, a city that stands as a testament to his vision and ingenuity. Perched high in the mountains, this architectural marvel was not just a royal retreat but a symbol of Inca power and sophistication. Its precise stonework, terraced fields, and strategic location showcased the empire's ability to harmonize with nature while asserting its dominance. But Machu Picchu was only one piece of Pachacuti's grand design. His administrative reforms revolutionized the Inca Empire, creating a centralized system that ensured stability and efficiency. The mita system, which required citizens to contribute labor to public projects, funded the construction of roads, bridges, and agricultural terraces. These infrastructure projects connected the empire's vast territories, facilitating trade, communication, and military movement. The roads, in particular, were engineering feats, winding through rugged terrain and linking distant regions into a cohesive network. Pachacuti also introduced a system of governance that relied on local leaders, or curocas, who were integrated into the imperial hierarchy. This approach allowed the Inca to maintain control over diverse populations while respecting local customs and traditions. By fostering a sense of unity without erasing cultural identities, Pachacuti ensured the empire's longevity and resilience. His use of quipus, the knotted string recording system, further streamlined administration, enabling efficient communication and record-keeping across the empire's vast expanse. Culturally, Pachacuti's reign marked a golden age for the Inca. He promoted the worship of Tyre, the sun god, as the empire's central deity, reinforcing a shared spiritual identity among his subjects. This religious focus was mirrored in the empire's art and architecture, which celebrated both divine and earthly power. The grandeur of Inca cities, with their meticulously crafted temples and plazas, reflected Pachacuti's vision of a unified and prosperous society. Pachacuti's impact extended far beyond his lifetime. His reforms laid the foundation for the empire's continued expansion under his successors, including his son Tupac Yupanqui and grandson Huayna Capac. The systems he established, whether in governance, infrastructure, or culture, endured for generations, shaping the Inca Empire into one of the most sophisticated civilizations of the pre-Columbian world. As we look back on Pachacuti's legacy, it's clear that his contributions went far beyond military conquest. He was a visionary leader who understood the importance of unity, innovation, and cultural identity. His story reminds us that true leadership is about more than power. It's about creating a lasting impact that transcends time. And as we move forward, we'll explore how his legacy influenced not just the Inca, but the broader history of the Americas. As we reach the end of this journey through history, it's impossible not to be struck by the sheer determination and brilliance of these 25 ancient leaders. From Alexander the Great's audacious siege of Tyre to Pachacuti's transformative reign over the Inca Empire, each story is a testament to the power of human ingenuity and resilience. These leaders didn't just face challenges, they defied the odds, reshaping the world in ways that still echo today. Whether through military strategy, political cunning, or cultural innovation, they left behind legacies that continue to inspire and awe. Think about it, how different would our world be without the bold moves of Hannibal crossing the Alps, or the visionary leadership of Cleopatra, who turned alliances into an art form? What about the courage of Boudica, who rallied an entire people against the might of Rome, or the wisdom of Ashoka, who chose peace after witnessing the horrors of war? These leaders remind us that history isn't just a series of events, it's a collection of choices, risks, and triumphs that shape the course of civilizations. So, what's your take on these incredible stories? Which leader's journey resonated with you the most? Was it Cyrus the Great's strategic brilliance, Joan of Arc's unwavering faith, or perhaps Genghis Khan's rise from exile to empire builder? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and which of these historical figures left the biggest impression on you. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the lives of these extraordinary leaders, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more fascinating historical content. There's so much more to explore, from epic battles to untold stories of resilience and innovation. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep defying the odds. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on the incredible stories we've explored today. These ancient leaders didn't just make history, they shaped the world we live in, and their legacies continue to inspire us to push boundaries and defy expectations. If you found these tales as fascinating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with fellow history enthusiasts. Your support helps us bring more captivating stories to life. And if you're hungry for more, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our deep dives into history's most remarkable moments. From epic battles to untold stories of resilience, there's always something new to discover. For those who can't get enough, check out our playlist on legendary conquerors or dive into our series on ancient civilizations. Each video is packed with insights, surprises, and lessons from the past that still resonate today. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep defying the odds.